Good to go. Hey friends, welcome. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to let a few people join us here for the Legacy Tribe Live. If you're wondering what the Legacy Tribe Live is, it is the weekly Zoom group coaching that I do for entrepreneurs who want to level up in life, better sales, more profits, build mental toughness, and win in business and in life. And this is one of the rare times, actually the only time I've ever done a live on YouTube where you get to actually be a fly on the wall as I'm doing a Zoom with hundreds of our Legacy Tribe members here who are paying members of Legacy Tribe, and you get to be a fly on the wall. So you won't be able to ask questions. You will be able to hear them as we walk them through their Q&As after I do some teaching, and this teaching is going to be groundbreaking, and you are going to get to have an awesome experience here. So without further ado, we're going to get started, and this will be pretty fun.
Recording in progress.
Bam.
Those of you who are not married very long, it's true. You do it right and it just gets better with time. You see, some of the older guys are shaking their heads. Yes, they know what I'm talking about. So.
Yes, sir. I don't consider myself older, but I did the same as you, missed the last two legacy calls. My wife and I just celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary.
All right, hello everybody. I see you guys all started without me. Legacy Tribe, hope you guys are doing great. Welcome. If you can see me and you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Awesome, there we are. Love seeing all the different faces here. Welcome to Legacy Tribe. Thank you for muting yourselves. I'll open you up for the Q&As after I do some teaching. Tony, by the way, Tony Bova, thank you so much, man, for the patch, the coin, and the letter. I appreciate it, brother. Can't wait to see you when you come out here for the Brotherhood Project. It's going to be a fun experience. And so, without further ado, let's get started. We've also got our friends here on YouTube watching live. It's a rare thing that we do. Right now, by the way, those of you on YouTube, if you go to bedrosecoolian.com and you want to join the Legacy Tribe, you absolutely can. It's open for the next 5 days. You can join us and you will get training and coaching just like this to help you become better in business and in life. I love the idea of money, meaning, and self-mastery. It served me well in life. I want to teach everybody here as well to do that. So without further ado, the topic of this month is resiliency and mental toughness. It is about becoming the highest version of yourself. Now, where resiliency is concerned, let's face it, as entrepreneurs, no matter how much you plan, the growth of your business, the offer that you're going to make, the product or service that you're going to launch, the type of leader that you're going to be, the employees that you're going to hire, the marketing you're going to do, the sales process that you're going to build, no matter how much planning you do on a marker board or on the back of a paper napkin, the moment you launch into business, Murphy's Law takes place. Murphy's Law says that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And as an entrepreneur, you have to fix it, you have to problem solve it, and the buck starts and stops with you. In this giant building that we have here at Fit Body Bootcamp headquarters, and we've got hundreds of team members that work with us, right? In the building and outside the building all across the country. Every single one of them report to somebody else. They have department heads, those department heads go to VPs, the VPs go to the CEO of the company. And guess what? When all those people go up the food chain and they can't solve the problem, they come to me. See, each and every one of those people can turn to the next person next to them and say, I don't know the answer, what do we do? I don't know the answer, what do we do? All the way up to the CEO. And if the CEO doesn't have the answer, he turns to me, and I can't be the guy that says, I don't know the answer, what do we do? As the founder, as the visionary of the organization, as the person running the multi-$100 million franchise brand, it is my job and duty to have the answers or to figure out how to solve the problem and get to the answers. That is resiliency, that you become the thermostat in a room of thermometers. What I mean by that is, think about you walk into a room of a chaotic conference room because something went wrong in your business, right? And I don't care if you guys have a multi-million-dollar business or you're just doing a few $100,000 a month, or maybe you're just doing your first 100,000 or 200,000 a year. You might have a group of people that you work with. Maybe you have a salesperson and you have a marketing person, and instead of a conference room, it's a Zoom. Something went wrong. Your website crashed, or there was a massive issue with product fulfillment or delivery, or maybe you guys have had just a slew of bad reviews for your product or service because of delivery issues. You're there to solve a problem. Well, guess what? those problems are going to get solved by somebody, and it's likely going to be you. Now, everyone else can panic and freak out. If you walk in and you act as a thermometer, you will end up, if everyone else is panicking, everyone else is freaking out, everyone else is hysterical, you will end up freaking out, panicking, and becoming hysterical. You as the leader need enough resilience, emotional discipline, mental toughness, and grit to walk in there and adjust the temperature. When you walk into a room where everyone is chaotic, hysterical, and panicking, instead of you rising to their level of chaos and hysteria, you bring everybody down to a level of coolness, calmness, and consistency. So you must be the thermostat that sets the temperature in any room that you walk in. That, my friends, is resiliency. That is the person that could walk in cool as a cucumber and say, we're going to figure out how to solve the problem. If you ever saw my favorite movie of all times, and I've seen this movie now 28 times, Pulp Fiction, then you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the wolf. When the poop hits the fan, right, you call Mr. Wolf. And when the wolf comes, he takes his time and he gives the boys the marching order, and he says, here's what you're going to do with the dead body. Here's how we're going to clean up the car. Here's where you're going to take the dead body, and here's the blankets you're going to put in the car. And when Vincent has a problem with the way that the wolf is talking to him, as he stirs his coffee, he says, oh, please, pretty please, with sugar on top. I'm just trying to help you not catch a murder charge. Can you please clean up the inside of the car, all that brain matter, dump it in this bag, put the blankets in the back of the car to cover the blood, and drive this car to that salvage yard where they will dispose of it properly. When everyone else was freaking out, when they came to the home and Bonnie was about to come home, if y'all seen Pulp Fiction, you know that Bonnie was about to come home, and Quentin Tarantino in that movie played Bonnie's husband, and he's freaking out. He goes, do you know what the fuck is gonna happen when Bonnie comes? She's gonna cut my head off. I'm gonna be just like that dead guy. And Mr. Wolf calmed everybody down. He was the thermostat that came in and everybody was chill. That is your job. So how does one become resilient? How does one become the thermostat in a room full of thermometers who always, you always see these people. They're cool, they're calm, they walk into a room, the room is chaotic, and all of a sudden they start panicking, they start having anxiety, they start getting hysterical. You don't want to be that person. Well, here is how we build resiliency. And if you can build resiliency, you become that motherfucker that everyone else wants to turn to solve the problems. The people that have the highest level of resiliency are some of the best leaders. The people that have the highest level of resiliency are the most respected in a room. The people that have the highest level of mental toughness and resiliency are the people that I look up to, probably people that you look up to. So with that in mind, how do we build resiliency? There used to be a time when we were all cave people, that resiliency was a byproduct of being alive. Because if you're in your cave and you're in your cave with your honey and your baby and you need fire, well, guess what? You get your spear and you sneak out of your cave and you hope that the saber-toothed tiger doesn't get you. And in the process of trying to get wood and a couple of rocks so that you can spark a fire, you're gonna fight off the saber-toothed tiger, get a couple pieces of wood, bring it back to the cave, go back out, get your rocks, and then you can start fire. And then come morning time, your family needs water. You get your spear again. While that saber-toothed tiger is trying to eat you, you're trying to figure out how you're gonna get food and water. That teaches you resiliency. You might have to fight that animal off. You might have to run fast. You might have to be strong. You might have to climb the tree. You might have to do whatever you've got to do to get the food and water to your family. And in the process, you deal with hardship. It was an organic part of life. Today, hardship, difficulties, challenges, and being attacked, for the most part, are not a normal part of life. Today, you don't even have to go to your favorite fast food joint to order a burger or a burrito and deal with the hardship of traffic, and then to deal with the hardship of waiting in line that's 3 people deep, and to deal with the hardship of, gosh, I said no mayo and no onions. How dare you put mayo and onions in my burger, right? Those are the hardships that we used to deal with about 8, 9, 10 years ago. But now that we've got the phone and we've got an app that you could push buttons on and have someone conveniently bring your burrito or your hamburger exactly how you want it, you don't have to deal with traffic, you don't have to see your neighbors, you don't have to wait in line, and you don't have to deal with a retard on the other side of the counter, and therefore we begin to get complacent and soft. And when we are fragile this way and we don't have challenges and adversities to build resilience, the moment we deal with any kind of adversity and setback in our business or in our life, we begin to go hysterical. What should show up as on the Richter scale of stress as a 2 or a 3, for many people now shows up as an 8, 9, or a 10. Like they lose their shit. The reason is they haven't built that mental and emotional muscle of resiliency. See, you might go to the gym and work out and build your physical muscles and you look jacked. But unless you are constantly solving problems, unless you are constantly navigating through life's challenges and setbacks, you are not building resiliency, the ability to overcome obstacles and to have setbacks and get back up and push through life. So there was a time in life, in the caveman days, even in the Industrial Revolution, hell, even when I was a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, that I had to actually figure out what I'm gonna eat when I get home as a 9-year-old latchkey kid. I had a shoestring around my neck with a house key on it, and I'd have to figure out how I'm gonna go from Salk school, my elementary school, all the way to the apartment complex, one, without getting beat up by all the gangbangers who wanted to beat up on the foreigner. 2, when I get home, and I think I was like 9 or 10 years old in elementary school at that age, when I get home and get inside, I gotta figure out how to cook food. Whether it's cereal or mac and cheese or grill up a hot dog on the stove, whatever, I had to figure that out. 3, my dad would be irate if I left any kind of mess in the kitchen when he and my mom came home from work at 7 o'clock. And so I had to figure out how to clean shit. All these things were opportunities for me to build resiliency, to problem solve, to learn. And I didn't have ChatGPT or Google or AI or any of these social media things to look for recipes and solutions and how-tos. I had to FIO, figure it out. And when you are figuring things out, you're activating the parts of the mind and the heart, the spirit and the soul that build grit and resiliency and toughness. Little did I know that my upbringing, trying to avoid gangbangers who are trying to beat me up and calling me a foreigner, telling me to go back to my own country, and when I did have to fight and I'd get my ass beat, try and wipe the blood off of me, because my dad's rule was this, that if I got beat up, I get beat up a second time when he comes home. You see how that creates more resiliency, right? Because most of the time as a young kid, when I got beat up, I had to patch myself up. Again, I had no Google, I had no AI, no YouTube videos to follow on how to patch myself up so I don't look beat up, so my dad don't beat me up again. These are the things that build grit and resiliency. Now, am I saying go out and fight gangbangers now so you can build resiliency? No. But today, we don't live in those hard times, right? And we should be thankful for that. However, we have to understand that as entrepreneurs, as high performers, as people who want more out of life, we have to stick our neck out. We have to take risks. And in the process of taking risks is where we develop resiliency and grit. Resiliency is the ability to eat shit, fall flat on your back, and get back up with enthusiasm and attack your goal anyway. Let me say that again. Resiliency is to eat shit, fall flat on your back, get back up and attack your goals with enthusiasm no matter what. And if you can't do that, the first time an ad doesn't work, a salesperson doesn't close for you, a coworker or a business partner rips you off, and half of you in here that have had business partners, you know this. You think you're getting a good a good business partner, someone who's on board with the mission and the vision, and you realize like, holy shit, I'm doing 99% of the work while splitting the money 50-50. I hate my business partner. They're liars, they're cheats, they're thieves, and I hate them, right? And so like, that's a problem you gotta solve. You can't just go and sulk in the corner, be passive aggressive, give them 50% while you're doing 99% of the work. You have to work through that problem. Like, that's a setback, that's an adversity, that's a problem that you have to deal with. And so it's about reframing life, that if I am to win in business or in life, I must therefore learn to eat as much shit as I can. You just have to learn to eat as much shit as you can while pushing through and solving problems. And when you do, God or the universe will reward you with financial winnings. And when you have those financial winnings, you are tested again. Because when you make more money and you have more clients and customers, you have to then grow your business bigger and hire more people. And when you do, some of those people that you hire, they're not going to show up like they interviewed. They interviewed well, but they show up as dipshits and dumb shits and thieves and crooks and whatever. Like, I've had wrongful termination lawsuits, especially here in California, right? Because we've fired someone because they've literally been weeks and weeks late, straight, written them up. But in California, you can sue your employer for anything. But I'd rather be sued than be used as an example of someone weak as an entrepreneur, where all of a sudden other employees can now take advantage of me. So I share this with you because now that we live in a time that the world is so comfortable, so convenient, everything is at our fingertips, we can order it and stay in our safe, bubble-wrapped home with the perfect temperature, we have atrophied our resiliency muscles. And it is a muscle like anything else. You know, I got into jiu-jitsu almost 2 years ago, about a year and 10 months ago. And when I did, I fell madly in love with it. And then this past December, I found out that I had 2 hernias. So I got the hernia surgery. I was out for about 8-9 weeks. In that time, when I had developed all those skills, because I was training 3 to 4 days a week, in those 8 weeks, I lost so much of my skills, so much of my cardiovascular endurance. And all of a sudden, when I got back on the mats, it was very humbling, right? Because it is a perishable skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. Just like jiu-jitsu, mental toughness and resiliency in business and in life is a muscle. It will atrophy and you will lose it if you don't use it. So while all these comfort and conveniences are great to help us become more efficient and effective at life, we have to put intentional adversity in front of us. Because if we don't, when life inevitably puts adversity in your life, and the adversity doesn't just show up in business, by the way. You might be running your business and all of a sudden, like me, you tear your tricep. May 2 years ago. And then 2 months after that, tearing my tricep, we realized we had to put my mom on hospice, right? And we put my mom on hospice. I got her an Armenian live-in nurse, and we did the best with her. 2 months after that, in September, she passed away. 1 month after that, my son's best friend, Nicholas Capoletti, passed away. So you can see that in like a 4 or 5 month window, I had 4 very big things happen to me. I tore my tricep and couldn't work out upper body well. My mom's put on hospice. 2 months later, she dies. 2 months later, a month later, Andrew's best friend dies. That's a lot of shit for someone to deal with, all while trying to run a big company. Thank God that I intentionally put myself through hardship. Thank God that I push myself through adversity. Thank God that I do those things that make me find that next level of life, that next gear. And we all have those next gears, guys. But it's not going to show up unless you do those weird things that most people don't want to do. Like when I do my suck fest once a year, at the end of a long workday in December, I will put on my hiking shoes and hike all of Chino Hills throughout the night. So instead of going to bed, I will work a full workday, still get my morning workout in, and I'll start hiking all of Chino Hills. About 37 miles is what I get in about 13 hours. I hike from sundown to sunup. Why do I do that? And I call it Suckfest. Why? Because it freaking sucks. Everyone else is asleep, but I am hiking throughout Chino Hills on it without preparation, other than having water with me and bushes to piss in throughout the night, and cops harassing me because it's a tiny little town of Chino Hills, and they want to know why I'm walking around in the middle of the night pissing in bushes. And when I tell them this is what I'm doing, they go, hey, good for you, right? So I do that. I'll do the old plunge, the ice bath. You think it's comfortable starting jiu-jitsu at 49 years old? Man, I'm 228 pounds. At 49 years old, I don't bend like I used to. I wish I started 20 years ago. But when I start getting folded up in weird positions, and I have no idea how to get out of those positions and submissions, it's very humbling. And in the beginning times, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, soon as someone's arm would go around my throat, I would tap. And Mike, who's the black belt that I train under, he asked me one time, he said, "Why did you tap, Bedros?" I said, "Well, you were choking me out." He said, "First off, I hadn't even locked in the submission. Secondly, once I do, I would slowly begin to constrict your breathing until you tap, like you have nothing to worry about." But I got into fight or flight. And actually Armando is here. And Armando, who I roll with now, like once a week he comes, and there he goes, he just waved. He's part of this group of dudes that we roll with, and Ed behind the camera is part of this group of dudes. It's so cool to see that no matter how big or small they are, every single one of them are better than me, and they're all higher belts. No matter what weird compromising position they've got me in, if I've got someone's wet chest pressed into my face as they're trying to choke me and break my arm, if I can get one nostril to get a little bit of air, I can frame up and be good until I can run out that 6-minute clock. That used to not happen. That is a byproduct of staying in the shit long enough until my internal thermostat adjusted to the stress. This is called stress inoculation. When you are constantly presented with different levels of stress, cold, staying awake overnight, someone trying to choke you out, strangle you, break a joint, exhaust you. I didn't even know there's a term called cooking in jiu-jitsu. Cooking to me is when you're gonna cook food. Cooking is when someone locks you up in a very uncomfortable position, puts all their weight on you, and you're just slowly exerting yourself until you are just, there's nothing left, and you just tap because of attrition, right? And I didn't realize I can be cooked for a long time. In the beginning, as soon as I thought I couldn't breathe, I would tap. Now, I figured out how to adjust, make micro little adjustments. Those are all a byproduct of stress inoculation. So whether it's walking through the night, it's doing tough workouts, it's choosing a day and doing 3 or 4 workouts, it's doing jujitsu, it's exposing yourself to improv. If you want to know why I do all these 6-week challenges, and whether it's train for 6 weeks, run a marathon, train for 6 weeks, and salsa dancing, train for 6 weeks, improv, right? Comedy classes, train for 6 weeks with chess. These are all things that challenge me. They're stressful. They put me out of my comfort zone, and they help me become more resilient. These same things, whether it's the mat, the gym, walking through the night, the ice cold bath, the chessboard, the comedy room, all these things that are out of my comfort zone. Salsa dancing for a giant monkey like me. Do you know how uncomfortable that is? But because of that, when the pandemic came, I was like, I am the virus. I don't need to worry about the virus. I am the virus. COVID had to worry about me. You see, the COVID-19 virus had to wear a mask when it was around me, and that is because I chose to be resilient. This is coming from someone who did not like doing hard things as a young man. But thank God I had a tough life as a young man, and I was forced to have to fend for myself and figure things out and do my laundry and cook my own food and fight off gangbangers and then fight off my dad. And all of a sudden that led to developing muscles, mental and emotional muscles, that allowed me to operate in a place of calmness when everyone else is chaotic around me. And I've become the thermostat in a room full of thermometers. When everyone else wants to raise their temperature to panic and hysteria, I can come in and bring coolness and calmness. That is what a leader does. And those are the examples, these challenges that I want you to put yourself through, because life has gotten so comfortable, so convenient, that we no longer have these challenges to test ourselves, to build grit, to become resilient, to figure out how much shit we can eat before we actually hit that wall. And most people think that a level 2 stress is actually a level 18 stress, and it's not. And the more challenges you can put yourself through, all of a sudden a level 10 stress feels like a level 3 stress. And people are like, man, you have this aura about you. I go, no, it's not aura. I could just eat more shit than you. That's all. I'm a professional shit eater. I can eat shit and keep moving forward. And if you could do the same, then guess what? Life becomes much better, because you can have your family life, God forbid there's a catastrophe where you tear your tricep, mom dies, son's best friend dies. You could be that North Star for your whole family when everybody and everything is falling apart. So with that said, guys, I hope you understand the value of resiliency. It is not something that you will develop by reading books, going through courses, or going, aha, I get it. Mental toughness, and if you do hard things a lot, like Pedro said, you will become a tough person. Got it, check. Nope, you didn't get it. You have to go out, and when you want to sleep, and when I'm walking through the city, and I'm like, fuck, it's 3 a.m. I could go to my house, go to bed, and no one would know. And I could still go on Instagram tomorrow morning and post a picture that I took at 3 a.m. and say, here I was all through the night. But I would be a liar, wouldn't I? And so I have to be congruent with the man that I say I am, and therefore I have to finish this damn thing until the sun comes up. This last December, I found myself in Scottsdale, Arizona in December. And so I had a speaking event. And after my speaking event, I did the meet and greet. And after the meet and greet, I said, hey, I've got to speak early and do a meet and greet because as soon as the sun goes down, I'm switching out of my suit, wearing shorts, a hoodie, and my tennis shoes, and I'm going hiking throughout Scottsdale. Now, if you know anything about Scottsdale, it's a very beautiful part of town. And unlike Chino and Chino Hills, I don't know all the cops like I do here. And so, guess what? I walked until the sun came up in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. It was ice cold because it's a lot colder out there being in the desert, but it built a new level of resiliency. I found an even better gear of life that I can go into. And when the cops were stopping me, I found ways to talk my way out of, not like I was doing anything wrong, but to be able to talk my way out of spending more time with them and instead walking and racking up my miles. Interestingly enough, I don't know if it was because of the cold or whatever, but I got 29 miles instead of my typical 37 to 40 miles that I do in December's here in California. But with that said, understand that when you are going to do these things, you have to do them no matter what. I can't be like, well, I'm in Scottsdale, it's a speaking event, so I guess I can't do Suckfest. Nope, Suckfest still will suck no matter where I am in the country. Thankfully, I wasn't in the snow, I was in the cold, and that's good enough for me. So with that said, if y'all have any questions, I'd love to open up this thing for questions. Just use your little hand thing there, and I'll take the questions. First man up, Tony, go ahead and unmute yourself, my friend. How can I help?
How's it going, B? So my question is in regarding to resiliency. Say you've built that muscle up, say you have that. When it comes to business, sometimes strategy-wise, you can continue to be moving forward, but then when do you know when to shift gears? When maybe it's not working and you're not quitting, but you need to shift gears into something else.
Yes.
You know
Yeah. Good point. So yeah, let's say you've built up your mental muscles and your resiliency, but strategy-wise in business, you're like, all right, I keep hitting the same wall over and over again. So you have to draw a line in the sand. And I've told this to my team many a times. There is nothing wrong with drawing a line in the sand and saying, if by this point, if we've spent $200,000 to try and get this outcome, or $1 million to create this software, or if we tried getting the hold of the rock. There was a time we were trying to get a hold of the rock to promote Fit Body Bootcamp, If we tried this many times and that many attempts and we haven't gotten it by this date, then we're going to regroup, create a new plan, change the strategy, and move forward. So as long as you can draw a line in the sand could be based on time or effort or money spent, invested, then you have to regroup and reattack. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good man. All right, go ahead and mute yourself. George, how can I help you, my friend?
Pedros, thank you. This is so good, man. My question is how do you, I guess, brainwash yourself out of thinking that I am putting myself in tough situations, right? Like I've been in business for myself and quit my job, 5 years ago, and so every day there's usually something, right? And in the back of my head, I could very easily say, yeah, well, I mean, I did put myself in some tough situations today. How do you continue to level up? What kind of brainwashing can you do to continue to push yourself, even though I could say to myself, today was hard, somebody quit, somebody canceled, whatever.
Yeah, good question. So my rule of thumb is this, man. I have to be scared doing it for the first time. And so let me tell you, jiu-jitsu, marathon, surfing. My dad brainwashed me, which he didn't lie. He just said, our family does not do good in the water. You had 2 uncles die in a lake. never go in the water. So we moved to the United States. We live in California. I grew up in Southern California. I realized, man, I was in my 20s. I'd never really gone deep in the ocean. I would just go up to the waves to my knees, and then I'd go out and lay out with my homies while they're like surfing and boogie boarding. And one day I was like, this was probably, oh, I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I was like, why do I not try surfing? It's because I've been told that I might drown, right? So I've got this fear. So it did scare me. And I'm not, I sink to the bottom. I'm like a rock. I have very dense bones. In fact, when I tore my bicep, the doctor said the surgery took an hour and a half longer because I had dense bones, and he had to, it's called reverse buoyancy. And he had to really drill through the bone to anchor the bicep back in. Good problem to have. I'm not going to have osteoporosis. Bad problem when you're in the body of water because I sink like a rock. So I know that about myself. So I hired a surfing coach, and for 6 weeks I trained with him 3 days a week. And if anyone knows anything about surfing, you know that you can't predict the waves. So when the waves were gigantic, I just had to figure out how not to drown, and he taught me that. When the waves were flat, because the Pacific Ocean can be very Pacific, that's why it's named, it's like a lake, I learned to paddle even better. And the waves were perfect when they were like 3 to 4 feet big, which is ideal for me at the time. Then I would catch a wave every now and again, I'd be ecstatic. But it scared the poop out of me. So if it's not scaring you at least once a month to do something new, bow hunting, whatever the thing is, then you're not really leaning into the sides of your comfort zone. So yes, you can do hard things and experience adversity in your comfort zone, but you have to lean into the sides to open up that box bigger and bigger and bigger. When do you stop? Well, when you die, because I think we all have some great, amazing potential, and God has built us in a way to reach our potential by pushing into the sides of the comfort zone. Does that make sense?
That's so good. That's a perfect analogy of pushing against the side. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Father Michael.
Howdy.
Howdy, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So with regards to resiliency, I mean, I have learned how to grind and how to eat shit. Not only in pastoral work, but I was thinking as you were talking more about the 12 contest preps that I did when I was competing in bodybuilding. And those are miserable if anybody's done them.
Yeah.
And so I learned the resiliency there, and I learned that I could do a hell of a lot more than I thought that I could. Okay, so I learned to be resilient in that sphere. Now, I've always been of the mind that like fundamental character traits like resiliency, like courage, like openness, and all are completely fungible in any area of life.
Yeah. Once
you kind of got the skill, you can apply it here and there. But I'm finding it difficult to be resilient while I'm starting up my coaching business. It's a new problem, it's a new field, for some reason, recurrent billing in Stripe just sent me into a tizzy.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but the strangest things become these roadblocks. Would you comment on, applying or finding ways of being resilient in different areas where you've practiced it and trained it?
Yeah, good, very good point. I forget the name of the book, but gosh, I wish I could remember the name of the book. But the term is called situational dominance. And so, for example, you might have situational dominance where resiliency is concerned on the pulpit. But now you come into my world of entrepreneurship and creating recurring revenue and all multiple income streams, and you're like, whoa, new place. And where I saw first this thing happen when I started working with the first Navy SEAL that I ever worked with as a coaching client, Dom Rosso. And he's got a wonderful knife company. He left the SEAL Team 6. He got into making fixed blade knives. I'm a big fan of fixed blade knives. I found his knives. I bought a couple of them. He saw my name. I think he was shipping that out himself, and he contacted me. He's like, hey man, I'm a big fan. I'm like, hey man, how can I help you grow your knife company better? His website sucked. And so as I was coaching him along, I saw that there was so much resistance that he was having in terms of writing compelling copy and being boastful about the quality of steel and what the G10 handle is made of and how the serrations are different here and how this particular sheath is a cloth grabber sheath, so you could wear it on your workout shorts or you could wear it on jeans with a belt. I know all of this stuff because I had to learn it so I could teach him, right? And he goes, man, we're quiet professionals, Bedros. I could go on a rooftop and kill an Al-Qaeda bad guy with a knife, a pistol, a rifle, blow him up, whatever. And I don't feel as much anxiety as I feel about the stuff that you want me to do to my website to market myself. He goes, we're quiet professionals. I feel like I can't talk about being part of SEAL Team 6. I can't talk about, boasting about my knives and comparing it with other SEALs. And so I said, hey, Dom, that's called situational dominance. You dominate as a Navy SEAL because that's the world you come from. You would rather go into combat. If I had to go into your world of combat, I would poop myself. However, if over time I was trained and taught and did sets and reps over months and years and thousands and millions of bullets like you, I might one day feel just as competent. And he goes, you make a good point. So understand that it's time under tension. Just like your 12 competitions that you did, the first one was arguably far more stressful than your 12th one, right? Because you knew what to expect, all right? This is peak week, the final week of my dieting. This is gonna be shitty, it's gonna be hell, but I'm gonna do it, and da-da, you do it. So it's time under tension. You do something long enough, you start, the reptilian mind says, here's all the things that can go wrong if I set up recurring revenue in my coaching business. Like, who the hell would pay me recurring revenue? After all, I just stand in front of a congregation and I speak the word of God, and then they go home and they tithe if they want to. People pay if they want to at church. And so your brain might be battling, how can I get them to, I'm not even asking them to pay once, I'm asking them to pay over and over again. Like, this is weird to me because that's not what we do at my church. And that's okay. As Suzanne Jeffers says in her book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, feel the fear and do it anyway. And through sets and reps, time under tension, you'll become comfortable with that recurring revenue. It's just a matter of time. A lot of people don't stay under the tension long enough to develop that comfort. Does that help?
It does. It does. And as you say that, I think in support of what you've said is that even though I'm not as resilient in learning to be a businessman, things do seem to come together a little more quickly.
Yeah.
In fact, they probably do come together a lot more quickly than I'm really giving it credit for. That perhaps there is more resilience there than I think there is. But
Dude,
because it's a new place to do it, I don't have the confidence yet.
that's exactly it. And you know what's funny is, as someone who's watched your social media grow ever since that one meetup that we had in where were we? Somewhere in Mexico. Before Sacramento, we were in Mexico somewhere. Cancun, right. I think you started your social media right after that, and to see how clunky your captions were and your videos were, and to see how you've evolved and how now your following has grown and how meaningful your videos are, and it probably takes less takes to do your videos. It's the same process in business as well. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Edmund, my friend, how can I help you?
Hey, Amy, how are you?
Wonderful.
Thank you. Awesome. So I actually had a little bit, you mentioned partnerships a little bit ago, and I have a partner, and it's more of decision-making meets kind of patience, resilience kind of a question. So let's say I have an idea, I want to run some ads, and he thinks like, no, let's wait, and so how do you kind of bridge the gap with being resilient, but also like patient, resilient, but also at the same time communicating well enough to like, do you put metrics in place? What's a good way to kind of smooth it over to help move things forward? It's somewhat related, but you mentioned a partner, so
yeah, good point. And by the way, what I'm about to teach you about this, I've learned through personal experience, because I was not only such a bad business partner, because I was a bull as a business partner. I'm like, no, this is what we need to do to grow, because I was so sure of it, not realizing that they're not trying to stop the growth of the company. They're experiencing fear, right? They're experiencing fear. And then when I worked with Kevin Downing, my therapist, to deal with my own anxieties and shit, and he helped me understand that when people feel understood, they're more willing to step forward. So imagine if you and I, Edmund, were business partners, and I'm like, man, we got to start running ads, and we got to start spending $10,000 a month running ads to grow our business. Come on, Edmund, you and I talked about becoming multimillionaires. And you're like, yeah, but not yet. I don't think we're ready yet, da-da-da-da. Now, I could either say, come on, man, what's the matter with you? Are you a chicken? Whatever, which is not going to help the problem. I'm only going to infuriate you. Or I can say, you know what? I completely understand that you probably have some hesitation. I'm curious what your hesitation is, bro. What is it? You might say, it's the $10,000 a month. You might say, what if it doesn't work? Like, you might have legitimate reasons. Clearly, you didn't become my business partner to help us fail. You want to see us win. And so when we help people feel understood, as Kevin said, my therapist, then ask them what needs to happen next. So first you want to make them feel understood, like, hey, what is the problem that's giving you indigestion and anxiety about that? They might say $10,000 is a lot of money to lose if this doesn't work out. Then I might say, I'll tell you what, would you feel comfortable if we spent a smaller amount of money and tested with the smaller amount that we would be comfortable with losing if things didn't work? And you might say, yes. I would say, well, how much is that amount? And you might say $1,000. I would say, can you meet me halfway at 1,500? And you might say, yes. I go, great, brother. Let's shake hands at 1,500. I'm going to watch this thing like a hawk. I'm going to try and prove to you that I can turn the 1,500 into 3,000. I'm going to double it. On the off chance that I can't, you're not going to resent me for losing the 1,500, right? And he goes, right. Now you feel understood. We've met halfway. I've gotten permission to move forward. And back in the day when I was younger, I was like, I don't need permission from anybody. We're business partners. Bro, I want permission from everyone. All permission is buy-in. So if I go, buddy, do I have your permission to... Today, I had a coaching client, new domination year coaching client, and I could tell there was some limiting belief issues that he was dealing with. I said, hey, let's just call him Bob. I said, hey, Bob, do I have your permission to speak openly and honestly? He goes, well, yeah, of course, I'm paying you $100 grand. I go, but it's not about your business, it's about your personal belief systems. He goes, yeah. I go, please understand that this comes from a place of love and care, number one. Number two, I'm catching what's going on with you because I've struggled with this as well, making him feel understood. So once he gave me permission, once he felt like, okay, whatever Bedros was about to tell me, he's experienced already, then we talked about the limiting beliefs. As it turns out, he was dealing with shame and guilt, two very low vibrational numbers on the frequency scale. We talked through it, we worked our way up to acceptance, and then we were able to now work on his business. But if I didn't get his buy-in and didn't make him feel understood, that would be very uncomfortable, and he might reach out to Joan and say, you know what, I came in here for business coaching. This guy started to dig into my personal life, and it was uncomfortable. I want my money back. And so if you can make people feel understood, meet them halfway, and then prove to them that it's safe to do this, then they'll give you permission or buy-in to go to that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 spend rate. Does that help you?
Absolutely, great advice, and I like how that kind of it really takes in their feelings and their thought process as well. So like that's great advice. Thank you.
Yes, sir. More than happy to help. John Peters, how can I help you, my friend?
Hey, B, how are you?
Doing great, man.
Kind of along the same lines of what Father Michael asked you is I find like with more the physical stuff as far as workouts and that sort of thing, the resiliency piece is not a problem. Like with Tough Mudder, you go through an electrified obstacle, whatever. But I have a harder time dealing with resiliency in the areas of business, especially trying to figure out the online coaching thing, and then just financial setbacks in general. So further advice or thoughts you would have on translating success or confidence I feel in some resiliency areas to more of that business.
Yeah. Good point. So about 50% of dealing with problems is transferable in other things. So for example, when I ran my first marathon, the lessons that I learned training for that marathon for the first 6 weeks, and then the lessons that I learned while running that marathon on that final day, the 42nd day, a lot of great lessons. About 50% of that transferred into my life. Now, 0% of that transferred into my next challenge, surfing, because it's the water. I might drown. I don't know if there's sharks or turtles or whatever, stingrays, which I have been stung by a stingray, and it's not a fun feeling. And so certain things are transferable into business, like jujitsu. I did a whole YouTube video, a few months ago about 4 lessons I learned in jujitsu that are transferable in business and in life. But not all lessons in jujitsu are transferable in business and in life. Sometimes you just have to deal with life problems. Like I don't know of any life problems or anything outside of life, like in business or sports, that would translate to having that birds and bees conversation with your son or daughter. And when my kids came of age and I had to have that conversation, my butthole was puckered and it was awkward and they were awkward. And me and my son were driving and he's in the passenger seat. And I'm like, hey, Andrew, I got this weird conversation that I want to have with you. Now, by then I had done, you know, I had done MMA as a challenge. I had done surfing and marathon and started multi-million-dollar companies, but none of that was transferable to there. So when I had that conversation with Andrew and saw that how clunky it was and what I could do better next time, when it was time to have that conversation with Chloe, much better. Now, if I had a third, fourth, or a fifth child, it would have gotten even better every time. But the lessons from there would not translate to, let's say, if someone says, hey, you're now going to be governor of California, because I could never be president, I wasn't born here, but let's say you're going to be governor of California, Pedros. Holy shit, that's a new responsibility. I got to get the left and the right to work together, and we got to budget things. And so now that's a whole new challenge that maybe 50% of my life lessons I could take with me, but I'm going to have to learn develop new muscles there. It's kind of like, well, you work out hard. You get after it in the gym. Sounds like you do like things like Tough Mudder and stuff like that. Have you ever gotten on the mats to do jujitsu?
I did some boxing, but that was 20 years ago.
Okay, so you know how it is. Like in the gym, you develop a different soreness of muscles. More when you're doing a Tough Mudder, you're running over this and you're climbing over that. You get on the mats, bro, there's weird muscles in your neck and in your bone marrow that hurt. I didn't even know your bone marrow could hurt until I did jujitsu. And I'm being facetious about that, but the point is you're just working different muscles. Like your diaphragm gets squished in a way. They fold your clothes up with you in it, right? It's just awkward. It's weird. It's not supposed to be that way. So you develop new muscles or you find new muscles. Now, as long as I keep training jujitsu, those muscles don't get sore anymore, just like the gym. But the first few weeks, it was horrible. I couldn't sleep at night. I felt like my ribs were broken. So there is a build-up phase that has to happen. And that build-up phase it can only happen through being in this shit long enough. Again, time under tension. Make sense?
Yeah. The first day after I boxed, I was actually sparred. I was so sore in places I did not know I could.
Right. Dude, the first time I went horseback riding, and it was like a little trot. It wasn't like I was a cowboy. It was a trot. I found like my core and my inner thighs were sore for a week, and I thought I was like a trained athlete. It was crazy. Exactly.
Yeah. Quick second question. My wife actually got me signed up for Canva for doing website stuff and all that. I have not used it as yet. Your thoughts on that application and best ways to use it?
I think Canva is a great platform. I don't personally use it because it's just I'm in a place in business where I just kind of delegate people to use things, and I know our organization uses it. So I wouldn't let you know what the best processes are, but I bet if I went to my iPhone and said, hey, ChatGPT, what are the best ways to use Canva to build my website or whatever, all of a sudden it would list it out. So I'm a big fan of using ChatGPT for that stuff. And the fact that I see someone posted, Canva is a great resource, especially for someone starting off. Ditto. So Canva is a really cool thing. I would suggest using ChatGPT and saying, hey, what are the hacks of Canva to get me going faster? And ChatGPT will tell you what those things are.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot.
You bet. All right. Alex Payne.
Hey, Vic, good to see you, man.
You too, man.
Hey, quick question. So, not sure if I told you when I saw DK live, but like literally 2 weeks later, I went to my captain's office and I told him I'm pulling a quiz.
Hey, congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother. So, quick thing, yeah, at this point in my life, things are moving faster than the speed of light, running 2 companies and, craziness, but you already know. My question is this. I'm a few weeks away of my baby girl entering this world. So I'm already, between the companies that I'm running, between everything I'm doing, 5 hours of sleep, employees quitting, all the chaos. And I already know people telling me, oh, well, get your sleep now, get your rest now. Like, I have no idea what am I going to put additional hours in a day.
Yeah.
So, since I'm a few weeks away from that, give me some pointers, man. Like, my wife is in the car too. Like, what level of resiliency do I need to unlock in a few weeks because I have no idea how to multiply time at this point.
Yeah, I get it. All right, so here's what no one told me about having our first baby, right? And so you're having your first baby, and I'm glad your wife's in the car with you because I think this is. I wish someone told us that, hey, these first 2, 3, 4 months will pass and the baby will start sleeping. Like Andrew would not sleep, man. If he wasn't hungry, he was colicky. Colicky, I don't know what colic means, but it's just they scream at the top of their freaking lungs. And so if he wasn't colicky and hungry, he was shitting himself. And he wasn't shitting himself, he was pissing himself. And so what I found is, obviously we're a fitness family, so downstairs at our first home, we had a little exercise ball. And what I found works, because look, if he's not hungry, that means my wife can't feed him. That means the rest of it is up to me, because she wakes up to feed him, so I got to handle the rest of the stuff. His crib was next to my bed. By the way, I would wake up, on the off chance that he would sleep a 30-minute stretch, I would wake up every 15 minutes, put my finger under his nose to make sure the little fucker was still alive. Because, bro, they don't send you home with a user's manual. You get to the hospital with you and your wife, and she has this bump on her belly. You leave 30 some odd hours later, 3 of you. And you got this little human in the back, no user's manual, nothing, bro. Especially in 2005 when Andrew was born, the internet was just popping off anyway, right? And so I'm like, is this even legal for this to happen? But, so I found that I can, when Andrew would cry, I would go downstairs, I'd bounce on the exercise ball, he'd fall asleep. And I remember thinking to myself, I guess this is my life. I guess even though I'm trying to start a business, we're gonna have to go and move in with my parents. Because sleep deprivation is a motherfucker, bro. If you start like losing sleep, you start going crazy. And I was like, about 3 weeks in, I was like, okay, I can't focus when I'm trying to work during the day. And I would work like out of the spare bedroom that we had. I can't get anything done. I can't even put one foot in front of the other. I guess we're gonna have to move in with my parents and downsize life, and this is it. Life is all downhill from here. And then right about a month and a half in, 2 months in, little fucker starts sleeping through the night, and then I start getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and before I know it, this is great. Why no one told us that these things happen and that it's a small period of time and like deal with it? So bro, I'm gonna tell you this. Stack your life right now where you could, for the next month or so, if you have to just work an hour or 2 or 3 a day, let your business partner know, let your employees know, tell everyone, y'all have to pick up the slack for the next month or so as my baby starts falling asleep regularly and gets on a normal human schedule. Because right now, your baby's floating around in this beautiful place that's temperature controlled. All of a sudden, your baby's gonna come here and unfold. By the way, they also don't tell you that they come out all folded up. So in my head, I thought Andrew didn't have limbs until he like unfolded like Voltron. Like, bro, no one tells the dads anything. That's the problem. No one tells the dads anything. Literally, in my head, I was building a ramp for what would be his wheelchair because I'm like, I'm going to teach him to be resilient. He's going to be mentally strong. Whether he has limbs or not, he's going to use his mouth to navigate his wheelchair. And then as he comes out of the birthing canal and unfolds, I'm like, oh shit, he's got his limbs, we're good. All the women are laughing because you know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know I'm right. The dads, bro, we're second-class citizens. So anyway, you'll be fine. It's factory installed. You've chased down bad guys as a cop. You've started businesses. You'll be fine. But it's a finite period of about 4 to 6 weeks that's gonna suck. But this little beautiful piece of you gets to feel your heartbeat and your body temperature and fall asleep in your arms, bro. It's a magical feeling. Enjoy every second of it. And if I could give you a piece of advice, start an email address for your baby, because scrapbooks are so, with the amount of videos and pictures we take today of our babies, you'll have 10,000 scrapbooks. So I was scrapbooking or making videos and pictures and sending it to their email address. When they both turned 13 years old, I gave them their emails and they were like, holy shit, when I was 4 years old, when you disciplined me for this is what I thought. Or when we were in Disneyland and I fell asleep with a pickle in my hand, this is what was running through my head. So it's so cool, man, to be able to do that. But I'm happy for you. Don't stress about it. It's factory installed.
All right, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
You bet. All right, Hannah Banana.
Hi, B. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So you said do something that makes you out of your comfort zone. This is definitely out of my comfort zone. So I have been, my husband and I are in the process of moving. We actually close on our dream house tomorrow, which is super exciting.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you. But we that's really been taking up a lot of our time, mine especially. And I own a business I have for 13 years. I always laugh because I always say you have to eat a lot of shit sandwiches when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But when I shifted my business from just being me, and now I'm getting ready to hire employees probably within the next month and whatnot. And I'm just terrified that I'm going to be a shitty boss. I don't know like how else to say it, but I definitely, I know that I need to do it because I need to grow. I've been increasing my prices. Nobody really seems to care, which is awesome. And there's a huge demand for me, but I can't do it all myself anymore.
Sure.
And I definitely, I was listening to your podcast from this morning, and I feel currently at the moment like I own a job, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to expand and have multiple locations, and I know that that first step is hiring employees.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if you had any insight for that.
Yeah, I do. The human brain is crazy, right? Because it sounds like you have zero evidence that shows that you're going to be a bad boss.
Thanks.
Right? Do you have any evidence that shows that was there ever a time you were a boss and everyone quit and with picket signs were picketing in front of your house or your business?
It's just been me, but I've hated myself a few times.
Well, that will happen too. So the human mind always sets us up for the worst case scenario. But I always say, I always ask my coaching clients when they're like, oh my God, like Bree, when she started Rebel Wax a couple of years ago, now it's doing $2 million a year. She goes, oh my God, the tariffs, and what if the tariffs do this, and then we have to ship all this wax from China to Malaysia and then here so we don't have to pay the 200% tariff. And she's sending me a voice shot on this. I'm like, hey Bree, do you have any evidence that you're gonna need to do that? Nope. Then don't worry about it. Worry about the fires that are happening. Don't create fires in your head that are imaginary just to then waste time trying to put those out while the real fires are not being put out. So, but the human mind does that. It comes up with what ifs because it's a survival mechanism. But always tell yourself, is there any evidence that points to me being a bad boss? The answer is probably no. And if it's no, being a good boss is actually pretty easy. You listen to people, you set expectations, you hold their feet to the fire to meet those expectations, and sometimes they won't meet those expectations. You train them up again and you say, this is your last and final chance. And if they can't do it, no one started a business to be a boss to fire people, but you will have to fire people. And that's the bad news that I have to share with you. But the blessing is, for every person that you fire, you'll probably gain 1 or 2 people that you love so much and who will help. They'll be bought into your vision and they will move up in your organization and they will help take your product and service to a whole new level. So that's what I'm going to tell you is, just like parenting, it's factory installed. There will be some hiccups. Legacy Tribe here will help you throughout the process, and unless there's evidence to prove to the contrary, don't sweat it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, and good job for taking the risk and raising your hand and asking a question.
Okay, thanks. I'll try it more.
Good.
Okay.
Mark Jackson.
Hey, Biss, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for the shirt, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I actually just wanted to touch on a little bit just of what Alex said. I didn't really have a question to ask, but the fatherhood thing, the parent thing is wild. Alex, all I got to tell you, dude, yeah, it is all factory installed. We don't know what we're doing. It's going to take you probably an hour and a half to get the flipping car seat put into the car and different things like that. But I got to tell you, brother, just soak up every single moment. Coming from, my daughter just got engaged over Easter, and my son just proposed to his girlfriend last Thursday. And it's crazy how fast. I was putting the car seat in the car like a couple weeks ago. Now they're 23 and 25 and getting married.
That's awesome, man. Great advice.
So,
Very good advice.
It just enjoy it, man. It goes by so fast. But that was it, man.
Amen. Well, thank you for that piece of advice. Guys, thank you so much for spending time with me on Legacy Tribe. Remember, this week, Legacy Tribe is open for new members to come on board. We would love for you guys as members of Legacy Tribe to get the word out there, to share it in your stories. Put the link to Legacy Tribe. Joan will email that out to you guys, or maybe Bryce will, so they can try it out for $99 for 30 days. Absolutely money back guarantee if they don't like the 4 weeks of coaching that we do. The bigger this tribe gets, the more value we can add and the better speakers we can bring. So thank you so much. Have a great night. Peace. Love you guys.
Recording.
Guys, if you are watching this, you're still here on YouTube, thank you for hanging out with me as well. I'm going to see if I can unlatch this in just a second here. But appreciate you guys for watching this. Thank you for hanging out. Just go to bedrosequeen.com if you want to see what Legacy Tribe is all about. It really is about building your legacy in business and in life so that you can have more money, have more meaning, and self-mastery. Like literally overcome your life's limiting beliefs so that you can break through and have the life and the business that you want. So thank you all. Appreciate you. Peace out.